join the ranks.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? It's Ethan Merritt from GI Jobs, and today our influencer of the month is going to be Tyler Merritt. Same last name as me, but this guy has started a company called 9 Apparel, which is an amazing brand, a company that was fortunately not hit by the hurricane, but they did have many trials, tribulations, and a whole bunch of things that Tyler will talk about today from his background as a pilot in the military. So stay tuned. I got to give him a call. Let's do it.
Background in the military was I was a Apache guy, turned 160th guy, so I flew gunships followed by Blackhawks. When I was in a unit here in Savannah at Hunter Army Airfield, we did promotional products. We did it for other military units, a lot of guys in the Tier 1 organizations, so your Rangers, your 160th, different SEAL groups. And really nothing resonated with us. When I would do morale gear, we did it on a Nike, and that didn't really resonate with the community. So we set off to create our own brand. And around 2013, in the evolution of our company, we came up with 9 I am not an artist. That would be the graphic designer from SCAD here that actually came up with the logo itself. But the idea and the meaning behind it, it's steeped in military terminology. So in the military, a 9 is essentially a CASEVAC call. So when someone is injured overseas, it's a call for help. And we consider ourselves now here at 9 the call to action, and the idea to promote patriotism so that the individuals who paid the ultimate sacrifice didn't do so for no reason, that we're still advocating for veteran issues, we're still advocating for issues with our military first responders, and we're not only a voice, but we also are able to give back in different ways.
What did the military bring for leadership, or maybe a perspective that you wouldn't have had if you were just a civilian? I mean, obviously going through the actual product name itself, 9 Apparel, that wouldn't be the product name that you'd probably pick being a civilian, but kind of what other attributes kind of came around from the military experience?
Sure, I think anyone who's dealt with military servitude knows that one, you get broken down to your core. You get to learn what you're made of physically and mentally, because a lot of us had to overcome some things that you didn't think you could ever do. How long can you continue running? How long can you continue this physical exertion? Your body can actually endure much more than you thought it could. And it's a different level of stress. You know, it is a life and death attitude. And you take that mentality to work every day, and you take it home with you every day, and it's hard to be able to turn it off. And I think that's a good thing in many ways, because people leave military service and they don't know how to turn it off. You know, they understand what good leadership looks like, they understand what bad leadership looks like, and I think a lot of us, we learn from both of those experiences. And I've seen nothing but extreme success from my brothers from former military units. You know, the ones that I consider friends were those good officers, NCOs, that they could be successful at just about anything. They wanted to serve because it meant something, because they understood what they were fighting for, and they didn't do it for the paycheck or the fame, because there's none. And I really think that those lessons of humility and being humble and building a team, not this I mentality, but we, how can we accomplish this, is what has allowed us to be successful. We have an incredible team.
Yeah, I can agree with that pretty heavily. You go through the military, you have different leaders, because they kind of just come about in all sorts of forms, and I'd probably learn more from ones that I would say I didn't enjoy more so than the best ones.
Oh yeah, everyone's got that one awesome example of what never to be. Yeah, I had one that was just so oblivious to everything. You know, we'd fly Apaches with them. He had no idea we're flying into Roz's. F-16s are dropping bombs. We flew into Iran, a whole nother country. I'm like, hey, sir, they're scrambling jets because we're in their country. No, we're not. Absolutely. Just oblivious. And then he was so oblivious, he'd have us watch The Office as lessons of what not to do. And we're like, that's literally you. Every single time I watch The Office now, I think of that guy who had no idea what was going on, that was just friends with a very powerful person that was put in a position, and that almost got us killed, and that got some people killed, because he's that bad. So we joke about it, but then we're like, sir, you want me to do what? All right, cool. Well, I don't have enough aircraft, don't have enough people, and we will all die. But that's where you get to learn how to still overcome that. And it usually was having to be his idea. And that's, again, all that just translated to what do you never want to become? You don't ever want to become that colonel that everyone thinks is an idiot.
Yeah, and that's so entirely true. But it is kind of what builds the community to be stronger, though, because then you problem solve ways that you wouldn't normally have, because there might not be another option that is foreseeable, or you can't quit a job, you can't leave a deployment early. So then you have to work with, like, all right, you think outside the box, and with that kind of mindset, you know, that helped with your business, I'm sure. But what's been, I guess, more challenging, if you had a kind of a perspective with like starting a business or being in the military? How do they differ? What's harder?
So you kind of hit it on that last comment. So the ideas between military servitude is that it's a total institution. I, as a commander, am kind of like the end-all be-all. I'm your judge, juror, executioner. You can't quit. You can't leave. So if I have to get something accomplished, even though no one likes it, I need you to come in on Saturday. I need you to be here on Sunday. And if you don't, I will have to put you in jail. And that's something you can't do in the civilian world. It's very different. It was hard in the beginning, because I would have these conversations with, I was just me, my wife, and Miles, and my brother, and a few other people. But I would say, hey, stop being so effing lazy and just go get your stuff done. And they're like, well, you can't call someone lazy. Like, why? They're being very lazy. Like, that's hostile. Like, okay. I had many other colorful words I would have called someone if I wasn't in the military, followed by knife hand pointing and screaming if they were doing any of those things. But you can't do those things. You have to lead by example. You have to try to create this idea of community and brotherhood like in the military, but you have to understand that there's inherently some bad people that you would rather knife hand and yell and just get them out of there, fire them. But you can't a lot of times. There's laws in place, and they're great laws, nothing against them, but a lot of times people work the system, and that's frustrating. In the beginning, I didn't understand all the laws, and I didn't understand how people were able to keep their job by working the system. But that's extremely frustrating coming from a very high-speed organization, is to have to deal with very low-speed individuals.
I guess what would be the most challenging part you had starting the business specifically, and kind of what would you maybe geared towards people that are about to get out of the military, whether they start a business or start a career? What can they look forward to, and what's going to be challenges for them?
Put your life in buckets as best you can and try to manage them accordingly. So figure out what's a priority for you. Is it family? Is it friends? Is it fun? And then just realize that starting that business means every single one of those things is going to take a significant sacrifice. So I would say I had a lot more hobbies, and I did a lot more things with my family, and I socialized a lot more with my friends, and that it changes. If you're trying to start a business, understand it's a sacrifice, and I wouldn't change anything that we've done in the past. But there's this expectation you're going to go from being in a garage to where we are without making those sacrifices and putting in that time and putting in that energy and missing Thanksgivings and Christmases just like you did in deployments. And that's what people have to be prepared for. You're leaving the military to try to have more of a stable job, you should go get a job. If you're leaving the military to start a business, understand that I had to sell my house, sell my car, eat ramen noodle, live in an apartment, deal with almost going bankrupt a dozen times but never being able to tell anyone. It's a lot of ups and downs, and no one knows about the downs. We'll only jump up and down and shout to the high heavens about all these successes, right? Because it builds that confidence and morale, and you can't ever complain down. You always can complain up. And as the commander, as the CEO, there's really no place to really do that. So find a good network of other business owners that you can have conversations and learn from them, because you just have to keep that good spirit. And it really does make or break your team. It creates inspiration, it creates creativity of like, what is that next great idea? They don't need to be worried about how we're going to pay the electric bill, or how I'm going to pay for rent, or how I'm going to purchase these goods that we have to sell by this date. It's just they can focus on their part of the puzzle.
And so where are you at now, and who's been like a helping hand for you in this process? Was there other communities with larger brands or smaller ones, or people that came from the military that ended up helping you and partnered with you later?
Yeah, I have a group of mentors that I've relied on over the years. You have your military mentorship programs that I was very into. I like learning from other people's mistakes, and especially when it's life and death. I like to surround myself with those very smart individuals that are obviously still breathing. From the business community, it's tricky because individuals who say that they're your friends really have an ulterior motive in mind. And a lot of times you get to figure out what the value of your friendship is through some of those betrayals, so just be very careful is the best advice and insight. And to find someone who's disinterested and already extremely successful, who's looking to give back, and I found a few of those individuals. But that's really to seek out that mentorship and make sure that they're not necessarily seeking you out to try to take advantage of you.
What's the future have that you kind of see for yourself, for the company, for your family? Kind of what's the long-term planning that you really have?
Yeah, so as we stand today, a lot of the trials and tribulations over the years, people joke about them. About how we've moved so many times. I've had people work in connexes, how we illegally built the whole second floor of our last building out of plywood, just like we do in deployments, and how it caught fire a few times. We talk about where we were and where we are now, and we're in a really good spot. We're definitely poised to grow, and we've been continuing to grow at such an exponential rate. Now it's the opposite problem. Now it's the problem that no one really wants to hear about, is that we grow so fast I have to slow it down. And we're constantly throttling back. We're constantly managing expectations with our partners and saying, hey, I understand you want it now, but how about 3 months from now? And they're being patient, but they're only going to be patient for so long. So we're just continuing to invest everything. Every dollar that we make goes right back into the company because it's growing so fast. So trying to manage that growth rate so it's responsible has always been our concern. I don't want to anger customers. It's the last thing in the world, because you take care of them and they will take care of us. And then I can take care of my employees. So it's that careful balancing act. And I don't have any investors. We are bootstrapped. And it's nice to not have individuals who don't understand our industry getting in the way. Because we've explored options, we continue to explore lots of options, but it's just a different growth trajectory. So right now we're in the process of seeking out partners and to continue to grow and to manage this growth rate. But we have just an incredible opportunity to take on the Nikes and the Under Armours of the world and say, hey, there's an alternative to that extreme agenda of ridiculousness, anti-patriotic sentiment. We can fill the void that they've created.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I've seen boom in the last couple of years. The veteran community's been able to kind of take a strong hold in like the civilian market and to market to our own people, and then also to other people to bring them in and say, hey, it brings like a level of like awareness to different types of companies that are ran by people that you wouldn't normally see, and some people that are like doing amazing things and you're like, wow, like thank God it's easier to make a business, or it's more accepted now, and then people are able to actually kind of make a brand that's not just a big brand with no face that we've all heard of. These smaller brands are coming together.
Appeals to everyone, attracts no one. It's great, and I think that's where we live right now, and it's unfortunate. Black Rifle is a great partnership. It's my favorite coffee. I hate Starbucks. That's me personally, and that's not an endorsement for anything. Legal disclaimer, don't sue me, Starbucks. But yeah, they suck. And Black Rifle's awesome because they have a voice and a personality that resonates with a large number of red-blooded Americans, and it's a very similar overlap with us. And to be able to partner with them and to be able to go out to the market and say, hey, this is not just for veterans. This is for veterans, first responders, military families, their friends, and anyone else who's just in that patriotic Americana demographic. It's a way that we can have a conversation about some of these things and bridge the gap between civilian and military, and that's really what it's aimed to do, is to create a conversation.